A short while ago, its current year sent in some replays to the Clan BBB's Discord, showcasing some battles versus other players in some best of threes. Seeing that he is an experienced player and he also pinged me as one of the casters to check out these battles, I decided to pick up a few and see if there are anything fun to cast, and to my expectation from a skillful player, there are quite a few fun battles, and this is the one we'll be showcasing today, with its current year leading the Lizardman army, while Saurus Regnum not playing the dwarves today, but still a rather heavy metal army from none other than Khorne. For the army builds here, its current year going for a Saurus frontline with spears mixed in with temple guards, flanked by some javelins and another javelin skin cohort at the back, and supported by a bunch of feral cold ones who have 90 armor, which is pretty decent in countering the hound forces of the Khorne army, with not exactly the greatest armor piercing on both Chaos Warhounds and Flesh Hounds. Also, there's a single Star Chamber Guardians for their elite status, providing armor piercing and also magic attacks to ignore the physical resistance from demonic armies, truly designed to deal with the chaos threat by the old ones. Hidden in the middle of formation, the Umbral Tide. With their stalking and also anti-large shots, they will be a threat to any large Khorne army units. The Lizard Boys also have a specialized air force. We have the Colossodon Hunters with anti-large and armor piercing, also there to deal with any large armored Khorne monsters. The leader of the army is a Slam Mage Priest of Light with quite a heavy loadout full of items and abilities, including fast protection, Barona's Time Warp, banishment, and also a bunch of supporting abilities and items, Aura of Quetzal, Shield of Old Ones, and also Blood Statute of Spite. Now for the Khorne army, rather simplistic here, a front line of heavy metal chaos warriors of Khorne. There's also a single Hellforge host for that anti-infantry armor piercing. In the skies, a single Chaos Fury in case they need to counteract any mobility or shut down any missile forces, and on the flanks here, Chaos Warhounds, Flesh Hounds on both sides, basically overwhelming the Lizardmen forces with all these backline harassments. And leading the army, we have none other than Scarbrand himself as the sole monster killer. He will be in charge of dealing with any large single entities. That's basically it for both of the army builds. Now it's the time to get the battle going. With all the coordinate doggles, Vanguard deployed on the flanks, Saurus Regnum is hoping to wrap around the Lizardmen formations and compromise their missile capacity. They can't see the stalking Umbral Tide just about yet, but what they can see are the skin cohorts, and their javelins can be quite devastating if they are focusing on the right targets. So all these Flesh Hounds, Chaos Warhounds will be rushing in trying to overload the skin cohorts using their charge bonus. Though here we have the feral cold ones and the Colossodon Hunters to intercept, doing some nice counter-punching damage, though the Colossodon Hunters want to be careful with their charging angle as they presented themselves right in the middle of the charging path of all the Flesh Hounds, taking some massive counter damage in return. Also, Chaos Furies and Scarbrand charging in doesn't make things easy for them. They are sustaining massive casualties and their leadership is rapidly dropping. Although on the left flank here, the Cold Ones have a much more success in beating back all these Chaos Warhounds due to their heavy armor, mitigating a lot of that charge damage. In the front line, the Khorne warriors are clashing against Saurus. One of them even reinforced by Hellforge hosts who are slicing and dicing through all these temple guards. The Slan Mage Priest will be equalizing things a bit with a banishment, although doing quite a bit of friendly fire in return. Now Scarbrand has broken through the Lizardmen's right flank, charging straight into the middle of their backlines. The Khorne dogs successfully overloaded the Colossodon Hunters and the Skinks, leaving only Cold Ones in the fight. Only feral Cold Ones is not enough to stop the mightiest Bloodthirster, so the Star Chamber Guardians will be presenting themselves, stopping those Chaos Furies right in their tracks, now buffed up by fast protection as well. Now even engaging the Hellforge host, with the fast protection buffed up melee defense at 74, no doubt they can mitigate a lot of that incoming damage from the Hellforge host and their anti-infantry armor piercing. But with the Star Chamber Guardians sallying forth to meet the Khorne demons, the Umbral Tide is slightly exposed to the Furies' harassment. So they'll be pulling back with an aura of Quetzal protecting them, while the feral cold ones with their high armor will be dealing with the pesky flyers. Skin cohorts here trying their best to fight back the Flesh Hounds and Chaos Warhounds, but being overwhelmed by all these numbers of mobility, they are now faltering, especially with Scarbrand, slamming straight into their flanks, applying that terror effect to rout them off. On the right flank, the Star Chamber Guardians are very comfortably beating back the Hellforge hosts with their armor-piercing magical melee attacks. circumventing most of the protection that the Hellforge host enjoys. And also all the support from other infantry, including more Temple Guards and the rear charge from the Colossodon Hunters. The Hellforge hosts are not enjoying this fight at all, though that means the left flank is lacking infantry and Skarbrand is able to catch the Slann Mage. The Umbro Tide as well, with the Flesh Hounds once again freed up, they need to start running and avoid being caught in melee. Though with more Chaos Warriors surging into the backline, there are less friendly units available to help them screen away threats. The Saurus Spears are still pinned down by Khorne Warriors with only skinks in the vicinity. Its current year tries to give all these units a little bit more punch with a Barona's Time Warp, also buffing up the speed of Slann Mage, helping him to run back a little bit faster. The Colossodon Hunters and the Temple Guards will be reinforcing after they dealt with all the units over here, as the dogs have been beat back while the Flesh Hounds and the Hellforge hosts are banished back to the Immaterium Warp. And now Skarbrand is distracted away from the Slann Mage, too busy fighting the Colossodon Hunters, who managed to enjoy a last bit of Barona's Time Warp before the effect wears off, doing some decent damage to Skarbrand the Exiled. But once again, Skarbrand with his superior mass pulled through all the lizard units and will be reinforcing this fight, dropping his terror onto all these lizard units, routing the skinks and also the Umbro Tide, while he himself slaying enemies with his fiery breaths. Feral Cold Ones coming back to chase off routing hounds, and on the far side the Saurus Spears are still holding back all these Chaos Warriors, allowing the Slann Mage to drop a banishment right on top of them, though the spell was going to the wrong way, doing quite a bit of friendly fire instead. Now Star Chamber Guardians will be charging straight into the Chaos Warriors of Khorne. The Khorne Warriors will be screening them out, tying them down so that Skarbrand can once again go after the Slann Mage Priest of Light. The Aura of Quetzal was activated earlier, trying to give the Slann Mage Priest a little bit more melee defense, and now the Shield of the Old Ones, but Skarbrand is just too much of a melee beast. The protection buffs doesn't last forever, and the lizards simply do not have the mass to stop Skarbrand from chasing after the Slann Mage, and every hit from Skarbrand's axe takes out a huge chunk of the Slann's HP. A Cold-Blooded was applied on the Slann Mage, trying to prevent him from routing. Feral Cold Ones will be charging in using that fast protection to mitigate damage from Skarbrand and hoping to tie down the Khorne Lord, but the Slann is destined to die soon, as Skarbrand simply pushes straight through all these Feral Cold Ones and slay the Slann Mage Priest of Light. This put a massive hit in the leadership of all the Lizardmen units. The Khorne Warriors are almost routed, but all the Lizardmen units are breaking, giving them a bit time for recovery. Another unit of Khorne Warriors also freed up by some routing Saurus, although the Temple Gods have successfully ground through all the Chaos Warriors with their armor piercing and superior melee stat. Now Skarbrand triggering a terror rout with his rear charge, hoping to save all these Chaos Warriors of Khorne, though their leadership is kind of wavering at this point. So whether they will stay in this fight long enough, we do not know, but the balance of power is ever so slightly in favor of Khorne, with the Temple Gods all of them getting quite low in HP. The Umbro Tide is doing their best to fire at any clumped up Chaos units, trying to work down enemy targets with their explosive damage, but unfortunately they do not have the best armor piercing. Most of that damage is absorbed by the Khorne unit's heavy armor. And with only infantry and some puny Feral Cold Ones left in the Lizardman army, there is nothing to stop Skarbrand from pushing through all these lizard units, bullying all these much smaller lizard doggos, especially with his ability Rage Embodied, locking the Umbro Tide in a melee fight. Of course, Skarbrand easily wins this fight, eliminating the anti-large firepower of the Lizardmen, leaving everything to all the Star Chamber Guardians and Temple Gods to carry the day. Though the good news is that there are still quite a few Temple Gods units left, while the Chaos Warriors are all routed. That means without any units fulfilling the attacking role, Skarbrand will be stuck fighting on a bunch of anti-large armor-piercing halberds, unable to perform any psycho charging, which is not exactly a fight he wants to be in, because while he is a great duelist, he just do not have the tools to deal with clumped up infantry, especially when you don't bring him with his breath attack. The Rage Embodied is nice, but it doesn't present any stat debuffs or direct damage, just merely a crowd control ability. So that means Skarbrand will need to save all these Chaos Warriors in order to get an anvil to pin down the Temple Gods while he himself psycho charges. But the problem is the Chaos Warriors simply refuse to return despite their leadership has recovered well over 0. To fulfill the attacking rule, that means Skarbrand needs to fight these Temple Gods and stay in this prolonged melee grind, taking massive damage all because his lackeys are too cowardly to come back for a fight. He is now surrounded by halberds left, right, and center, and the Chaos Warriors are still refusing to come back. As we can see here, Skarbrand's massive hitbox allows a lot of Temple Guards to hit him at the same time, causing him massive burst damage, and his remaining HP is finished in a matter of seconds. Finally, the Chaos Warriors have regrouped, but Skarbrand is also slain. GG to both players here, and big thanks to It's Khorne Year for sending in this replay. You don't really see any Lizardman vs Khorne matchups, at least I don't remember seeing them in a replay video, and I'm really glad to come across this battle. For the army performance, the Temple Gods really carry the game for the Lizardmen here, all of them earning well over 1000 gold worth of damage value and also a lot of kills, basically tanking out the damage from all these Chaos Warriors, the Hellforge hosts, and all the mobility, and slowly grind them down with their armor piercing. In the end, surrounding Skarbrand and finish him off. Now, there are quite a few things worth noting in the army picks in this battle. First of all, the Furrowed Cold ones, as you can see here, they did pretty decent, actually surprisingly decent, against the Khorne army with their heavy armor at 90, managed to mitigate most of the damage coming in from the Flesh Hounds, Chaos Warhounds, and Chaos Furies, successfully counteracting the Khorne mobility spam, and their armor piercing once they get a real charge onto the Chaos Warriors will help them do a lot of damage with their charge bonus and whatnot. And other than the Temple Guards, we also have the Saurus Spears here, holding surprisingly long against the Chaos Warriors. With all the extra investment in their defensive stats, the Spears does have a little bit more defense than the regular Mace variant, and on top of that, the shield providing an additional +5 melee defense. This causes the Khorne Warriors to take way too much time fighting these Saurus Spears. Yes, they won eventually, but at that point it was already late game, and they themselves have taken a lot of attrition damage throughout the combat. Now for the skin cohorts, Saber's Regnum did a really good job at shutting them down and preventing too many javelin throws with the overloading of Khorne dogs, so not a lot of value for them, while the Colossadon Hunted somehow managed to recover most of its value despite taking a lot of damage at the initial stage of battle. Their anti-large armor piercing does come in quite handy, especially when buffed up by the Barona's Time Warp, managed to chip away some health of Skarbrand the Exiled. However, the Umbral Tide, theoretically it is a decent pick if you have some unarmored monsters, but in this matchup where most of the monsters are armored, like Skarbrand, their non-armor piercing missiles are not that effective. Their best targets are probably the Flesh Hounds, but unfortunately they didn't really shoot at the Flesh Hounds with their flaming shots. And being constantly harassed in the game by all these mobility and Skarbrand himself, they were simply not able to earn back their own value. The Slanmage Priest of Light no doubt is not a damage dealer, but the supporting spells are really key. Fast protection, reducing that combat attrition on the Star Chamber Guardians and other units throughout the combat, allows them to survive a lot better into the late game, mitigating the damage they take from all the Khorne forces melee attacks, especially the Hellforge host, and the Time Warp providing extra melee attack, buffing up the damage of the Colossadon Hunters and any units in the vicinity of the spell. Really, the Furrowed Coens definitely enjoy some of that when they were fighting a bunch of Chaos Warriors. As for the Khorne army here, Skarbrand definitely hard carried the entire army, but just not quite enough, as the Lizardman's only remaining units are Temple Gods, and he's simply not effective against a bunch of elite halberds. As for the rest of the armies here, the Hellforge host being counteracted by the Star Chamber Guardians, who have decent enough melee stats to punch through their defense. They themselves buffed up by the fast protection, not taking a lot of damage, and the armor piercing magical attacks ignores all of their protection, including their physical resistance and armor. As for the Chaos Warriors, they didn't really earn back that much value in this battle, as they took way too much time slowly grinding through a bunch of Saurus Spears, and against Temple Gods, the armor piercing does prove effective against all these Chaos Warriors. Flesh Hounds and Khorne Dogs not quite earning back their value either, as they were counteracted by a whole bunch of Furrowed Cold ones, a really nice pick in this matchup, while the Chaos Furies also not quite enough to earn back their own value, as they were dealing with a bunch of elite halberds in the middle of the battle. Anyways, that's it for today's battle. I hope everyone enjoy it, and if you do and want to see more, be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Also, feel free to send me any replays that you want to showcase. I'll be sure to check them out. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.